In this video, we are going to build a simple file transfer program using UDP socket in C programming language. In this program, this client is going to read a file and send it to the server, and the server is going to save that data in another text file. So let's start the code. So here we have created two files. First is server.c and the second is client.c. And the third is the text file client.txt. So it contains two text lines. That is, this is a simple text file. Let's add one more line to it. Okay, so you can add few more lines to it. First of all, the client is going to read that file, send the data to the server. The server is going to receive that data and save it in another text file. Okay, so that's how the file transfer takes place between this client and the server. So first of all, we start writing the server part, and we're going to include the header file first. Okay, now next we begin with the main function. Okay, let's define first the IP address and the port number on which this UDP server is going to start. It's going to be local server, so the address is going to be localhost address. And next is the port number. Let's say 8080. Okay, this is C. We have to terminate every sentence. Actually also work on Python, that's why there's some time confusion. Next we're going to define some variables. First is integer server socket server sock fd. Okay, next we need to define some structures. Okay, so addr in. First we need to define the server addr, then we're going to define the client addr. So these both contain the server and the client address and other things. Next we're going to define an array, a character array of the specific size, and the size is 1024, and we're going to name it buffer and with a specific size. Next is an integer e which you're going to require. So now let's create the UDP socket server sock. Okay, server sock fd is equals to socket. Okay. So first is the finite, which represent the internet version 4. Second is going to be sock underscore dg-ram. So this is sock dg-ram represent the UDP protocol. UDP is basically a connectionless unreliable protocol. And third is 0, and I forget what it is. So I have a blog post on this entire code. You can go and read that blog post and get the entire information from that blog post. Okay, next we're going to check for the error. If server sock fd is less than 0, then we're going to have some error. Let's print those errors. So here we're going to write socket error because the error is in the socket, and then we're going to exit. Okay, now we're going to use the structure that this is structure server underscore addr and fill some required information in it. Okay, server addr first is the family of protocol, the family. Okay, the family is finite, that is we're going to use the internet version 4. Second is the port number, server addr.syn port, and this is the port we have specified above, that is 8080. Next is server addr.syn addr, and inside that we have s underscore addr, and here we need to specify the IP address using inet addr. So it is inet is to convert, make it in a proper format, because it is a character array here, a character to pointer or a pointer to character. A little confused. Okay, we can say IP here, we don't have to directly copy it here. Okay, so now this we have filled the information in the structure. Now we're going to bind the IP and the port number. So let's say e is equals to bind first the server socket Okay, then we need to provide ampersand the server ADDR. Next is size of the server ADDR. Okay, again we're going to check for error. If e is less than 0, okay, then we have some error, and we're going to copy this thing from here. So this time it's bind error. Okay, okay, now we have bind. So in case of UDP, we do not connect, we just directly send the data. Okay, it's unreliable. Server or the client does not worry whether the other party have received the data or not. It just send the data. So we're going to print a message here. If there's any error here, tell now that the program is going to exit. Otherwise, this means that UDP server has started. So let's print a message. Starting UDP file server started. Okay. So now we're going to receive the data from the client. Let's now move to the client part. Okay, and I think some of the things we can copy from here. Like first of all, this part we can directly copy, and then we can move the client part. Then we can copy this thing. I think some of the variable remains the same. Copy it still here, and we're gonna check if we need anything, then we can change it accordingly. Okay, we do not need client ADDR here. We will need the one structure only. Okay, then we can remove this buffer. We don't need it now. We can remove this also. Okay, now we need to read the file, so we need to create a pointer for the file. Then the name of the file, it's client.txt. Okay, let's terminate it. Okay, so we've created the UDP socket here. Fill the information. Okay, now we need to read the file. Okay, so fp is equals to f open file name in the read mode. So read mode, that is R. So if fp is equals to null, this means we have error. The error reading the file. Error occurred while reading the file. Okay, and then we can exit. Now here comes the part where the client is going to send the data to the server. So let's create a function, send file data. Okay, and so what we need, first of all we need the file pointer, let's say fp. Then we're gonna need the server socket. Okay, and then we also need the server ADDR, the structure. Okay, so this is the main program. It should return as 0 at the end. But I think we need to copy for the server also. Okay, now let's move back to the client file and create this function. It's going to be a void, let's say void function name. So first of all is going to be file pointer to fp, then int fd, then struct addr underscore in, then addr. Okay, now first of all we will define some variables. First is an n integer name n, then a buffer where we're going to store all the data from the file and then send it to the server. So now we're going to read the data from the file. Let's create a loop and read the data. F gets, okay, buffer. So we're going to need to write the data into the buffer of the specific size from this pointer. If it's not equal to null, so if this is equal to null, then loop is going to stop, otherwise it will go on. So we're going to print f, let's say we are sending this data, put it in a square bracket so that it's look nice. data percentile s, okay, and then buffer. Okay, so let's print the data and we're gonna send it later. Now we're gonna compile gcc client.c out client. Okay, no error, client. Okay, so you can see the data from the file. First line is this is a sample text file and it's exactly the same. Let's add some more line to this. Now add some more line technique. So eject developer, and then we can say ejectdeveloper.com. Okay, so I've added another line. Let's run this program again. So you can see we now have the third line which we have added to the text file just now. So we have successfully read the data from the client. Now we need to send it to the server. To send this data to the server, we're gonna use the send to function. N is equals to send to. Okay, first we're gonna use the socket, the sock fd. Let's copy it here. Then the buffer, the array which contains the data, the size of the array. Next is 0, and then is struct so addr star, then ampersand addr, that is that structure size of addr. So now n, we have received a value an integer form. So if n is equals to -1, then some error in sending the data. If it is less than 0, basically what I mean. Oh, it's shown. Oh, sorry, it's for the and not for the less than. If it's exactly -1, then the error. Error sending data to the server. Okay, then we got to exit this program with this message. Okay, now we fill the array, the buffer array with the 0, p0 buffer size. Okay, now we're gonna exit this while loop. So where's this while loop? Okay, I have just done one mistake and it should be this. Now it is correct. And we can do. Okay, now it's correct. So now this is everything. The loop is going to read the data, print on the screen, and send it to the server. If there's any error, we're gonna stop the program. Otherwise, it's going to read the data, send to the server, and we're gonna exit the loop automatically because this value is going to be null here automatically. So we're gonna exit loop, and after that we're gonna send the server special word, the term, a command, which is going to make sure that server close that file. So we basically say the server that all the data is finished, the data transfer is completed. So we're gonna send some special character or word or anything. Okay, so we're gonna copy that character or word, anything, into that, and before that we're gonna send the end word. Only the end word we're gonna send to the server. So we can copy it again and send to the server. So finish. So till this line we have finished sending all the data from the file. So we can close that file and we're gonna return this function. Okay, so now we have written the return from the function. This means that file data transfer is complete. So we also need to close the connection from the server. Okay, so let's print these two lines. After that, this messages which is going to print on the screen. So let's close the connection from the server. Okay, so this file is completed. Okay, now let's do one thing again, just compile it and see for any error. Okay, so you can see because it is UDP, it does not worry about anything, it is send or not anything, just work. So now we're gonna work on the server file because now the client has sent that data. Now server is going to receive it. So we're going to write a function for the server also. UDP server started. So we're going to receive data and write it in the file. So let's say write file name and server socket, and then the client ADDR we're going to need, and it's also going to be void write file. Okay, in sock fd instruct sock ADDR underscore n to ADDR. Okay, so let's create first a file pointer fp. Okay, then the name of the file, okay, next is going to be integer n and a buffer character array of the specific size. So now we have all the variable defines. Now we're going to create the text file where the server is going to write all the data received from the client. fp equals to f open file name is server.txt because we need to write the data, so we'll write w here. Okay, now we're going to start receiving the data from the server. Let's start a infinite while loop. That's why I'm writing 1 here. Going to is going to run until we have to stop it with something, and that thing is the end command which the client sent to the server. So if we encounter that end, we're going to break this loop and return from this function. We are within this while loop. First of all, let's okay, because we need to receive the data, n is equals to receive from the socket fd in the buffer variable size, and then struct so ADDR star pointer, okay, no, star ADDR, and then okay, let's define one variable which I have left, stroke len underscore t ADDR size. This is basically if I don't want to get any error, I want to follow proper things, and we can say ADDR size is equals to size of ADDR, and we can say ampersand ADDR size. Okay, next we're going to match something that end, the end word. If strcmp buffer and if it's equal to 0, this means the file transfer is complete and client has sent this end word. So we're going to break the loop and we want to return from this. We don't want anything, and if it doesn't match, then this means we receive the information and we're going to print it on the console first. Receiving data s, and then we'll write buffer. Okay, we can also print it in file. Let's first of all see if we are receiving it or not. And now if by mistake we, so if we receive and the loop will break and we're gonna get out of the loop. So after closing the loop, we're gonna close the files, f close fp, and then return from this function. So we call this function, okay, we call this function here. So let's compile this server. Okay, line number 15, we have some error. Okay, we should provide it equal here, and we just terminate it here. Okay, some common mistake is there. Okay, server. Okay, you can see the server has started with no error, anything. Now we're going to start the client. Okay, client is done. Okay, so you can see on the server we have received the data from the client. All the 3 lines we have received. So some part of the program is working. We can say the client reads the file, send the data to the server, server receive the data. Now what we just needed, we need to write that data into the text file. That simple thing we need to do. So between these things we're gonna write f printf. So we're gonna write the data in the fp versatile s, and the data is in the buffer. So now data should be written in the text file. So now we're gonna print some lines. So the data transfer is complete, and we need to close the server. Close server addr. Okay, not server sock fd, not addr. So let's compile it again. Okay, server is started. Now let's compile the client again and run it. So client has sent the data, so data transfer is complete and is disconnected from the server. Now let's go to the server. Server is started. Server received the data from the client, and so the data is written in the file and data transfer complete, and the server is closed. So we have a server.txt file. So you can see it has exactly the same words as the client. So both the server and the client file have the same information. So we can basically say we have built a program where there's a file transfer taking place between the client and the server through a UDP socket. So I also have a video of the file transfer program using TCP socket and C programming language, and also for the Python. Do check out those videos in the description. That's all for this video. I hope I was able to give you some new information, and if I did, then please subscribe the button. Oh, not subscribe the button, subscribe the channel, and like this video and share it with your friends. So thank you. Have a nice day.